Hello everyone and welcome to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. Typically I'd start with an array of headlines and quite a lot of different description of what we'd be talking about during the show, but today, to be honest, is one of those days where there isn't all that much news to really cover. So honestly, I've got a couple of things I want to talk about, primarily as regards contracts and of course budget cuts, but by and large this particular show is going to be run pretty much by yourselves. It'll be question and answer as per usual. I'll answer any questions that you guys have, see if we can turn them into any major discussions while we've got the time and the space. But if we have to end early, we'll end early, and that's okay, because Tom does need a nap every now and then. So this show's largely run by yourselves. Immediately want to say a thank you for Connor, who's given a new channel membership, renewing for a 9th month, and says hello Tom. Hello Connor, how you doing mate? Great to see you. Has also subscribed on the Twitch side for a 20th month in a row, saying hello again. That's 2 hellos. Welcome Connor, how you doing mate? So I'll say hi to everyone who's in the chat because you're all here and I'm always very glad to see you. Si's here saying good evening all. Ken says, hey Tom, anything on how long Liv and Raquel will hold the tag titles? I don't have that information at the moment. Ultimately the injury to Shayna Baszler was not one that they were expecting. Daniela says, good evening. Hope they don't release too many wrestlers if it ends up happening. Ed says, hey everyone. Sorry, everybody, got to get it right. And Brad says, hello Tom and hello everyone. Carl from Turnbuckle Studios saying, good day mate to you too. Leisha Miller's here saying, hey Tom and hello to everyone. And Brad says, it's always good to see you Tom. Carmelina says, hi everyone and Tom. Did everyone see Trinity is back wrestling training? She is indeed. There are a couple of offers that have come in. By and large, from my understanding, she's not particularly interested is the word I was going for there. She's not particularly interested in a number of offers that have come in, but she's wrestling training largely for fitness and considering her next steps. By and large, she's taking a break. Carl says, we just don't want to miss anything, Tom, so better to be here early than late. And I say, showtime. Woo. Mark says, hey, Tom, been very ill today. Don't think I could make the show, but I'm here and looking forward to it. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, mate. Jaden is here saying, hey, Tom. Leon says, hi, Tom. Hope you're doing well. On the Twitter side, Sean says, hello, Tom. How are you today, mate? Doing very well. Thank you, Sean. Just had myself a nice long bath and a nice long chill. Sometimes the shows and the days where there isn't that much news, it takes a lot of pressure off me. It really does. Spider Boss is back under the name Big Daddy Money Banks now. Says, do you think Drew McIntyre re-signs with WWE? Personally, I do, but there will be more on that shortly. Also says, according to PWInsider, some women's segments were cut from Raw, including a segment of Bianca and Damage Control. Bianca and Damage Control, that report came from Fightful Select, which you may notice that the auto captions on my TikTok side read that as Falafel Select, which I found fucking hilarious. Hilarious. Hey Michael, how you doing, mate? Ed says, anything interesting going on Monday? Connor, get back in the cupboard. Well, surprised to see Connor. Clearly. I know he's a regular here. Doesn't always pipe up, but always good to see you, mate. Jordan says, good evening, Tom. Hope you're well. Doing very well. Thank you, Jordan. Welcome. Giving power to the inmates. Wow. That's you saying that about yourselves, mate. Connor says, good, mate. How's life been treating you? Very, very well recently. Very well. Depending on how long you guys have been here, I know that there's been some dark moments and some dark times where I've not been the happiest and the most level, but life's been really good. Really good. So, can't complain. I hope the same is true for yourself and I hope the same is true for all of you. If you're not having a good time, let me know if I can help. Backwards to say, Tom, hope all's well. All is well, thank you, Backwards, and welcome to the show. Dad says, Tom, do you think Sting may help Darby Allin win the title at All Out? That's not very face. Not very face to help in that regard. He may even nod if there is a nod there. Venomous here says, hi, Tom. Carlos says, where is Roman? Roman is taking a break. Bruce says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Bruce. How you doing, mate? And Jaden says, Tom, are you going to watch the Mercedes match on Sunday? I don't think I'll catch this one, unfortunately. I've caught all of them so far, but I'm not sure I'll be able to catch this one. Hector says, happy Friday, Tom. Did you catch Mercedes money? Continue to make wrestling reporters look like idiots when they report false info. There's a lot of different things being reported at the moment, and I can say that the information I've got certainly does dispute some of what Sasha Banks has indeed, well, Mercedes money has indeed said, but at the same time, if it's her reporting it, she's a first-hand source. First-hand source. So we take her word, certainly over mine as well, to be blunt. Sean says, according to Steve Carrier, that's Ringside News for those who don't know, because he didn't mention that, he asked around about Alexa Bliss and said her name hasn't been brought up or discussed and there are no plans for her currently, which is true and very consistent with what I've already reported. Spider-Boss says, do you think a feud with Trish would benefit more to a young talent like Liv Morgan? Yes. And I don't understand why so many of the big name returnees are immediately going after people who are already established and already over. Hogan says, Ari, Rousey and Shayna. Is Rousey still hurt as well? I know she worked Mania, but it isn't as if she did a whole lot in that match. She is still carrying an injury. She's not 100% as of yet. She did insist on wrestling at WrestleMania, and that's why the Fatal 4-Ways were put together. Carmelina says, do you think the Usos will get punished if they lose Friday by Roman? Yes. Yes, I do. Venom is asking about Tyler Bate, which I'm going to ignore because I don't want to talk about Tyler Bate. Ever. For any reason. For any reason at all. Danielle's just watched a football match. I imagine you're talking about the Arsenal one. Spider-Boss says, what do you think about Mercedes money making some wrestling media outlets look as? Well, as I've discussed, some of the things that she's saying is in dispute with something that I have also reported, but she is a first-hand source, and when it comes to first-hand sources, even I, well, especially I, to be honest, will sit here and say, hey, nobody's infallible. And sometimes it's a good thing when the wrestlers pipe up and say this is wrong, because then we know who we can guarantee trust. Because the big question mark, of course, is I'll sit here and say, hey, looks like I've got wrong information. How many of them have never said that and never will? Khalid, how you doing, sir? Says, hey, Tom, mate, thank you for saying you appreciate my comments. I do, Khalid, I really do. For those unaware, one of the easiest ways to support a YouTube channel is engagement. YouTube channels and videos get pushed based on how many people are interacting with them. Leaving a like is a wonderful thing. I noticed 20 people have already left likes. We have 62 in here. Please keep those rolling if you can. Leaving a comment, also a huge help. There is something called chat rate on live streams, which if you guys are chatting, it means the show will get advertised more and more. The more people there are and the more they are engaged, the more the show goes viral. In addition, though, is also, for example, the shorts. When I do my morning shorts about the morning wrestling news, Khalid, you've been very reliable in leaving a comment. It's usually a similar comment, like, I'll see you for spoiler warning, I'll see you, I hope you're doing well. It's a wonderful thing because it does guarantee that goes to more people. It guarantees it. Guarantees it. So if you or anyone else you know runs a YouTube channel, one of the easiest ways to support them is to leave a like and leave a comment if you can. It's why so many of the YouTube videos you watch will say leave a like and comment below about. And why so many YouTube videos will, and I've started doing this myself, will ask a question or a quiz or something at the beginning too. No, Brad, I've not watched Picard. I'm not that big a Star Trek guy, to be honest. Alyssa says, what are the plans after Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes? Again, I'm confident Cody Rhodes and Roman have unfinished business to cover. Wazar says, hi Tom and happy Eid to everyone celebrating. Indeed, happy Eid to everyone who is celebrating. Today, I believe, is the day, today and tomorrow. I'm not too au fait with it personally. Religion in general is not something I'm particularly strong with. But I do hope anyone who does celebrate and who does believe is having an absolutely fantastic time. Eric says, I hope Damage Control and Bronson Reed won't get cut again. Carl says, so many watches and not enough likes on the video. Let's help keep Tom at the top of the algorithm and hit that like button. Carl, you a perfect example of someone who has run channels, has run shows on channels, and knows very much that a single like can make a massive difference. This is a great name. Necrotizing Fasciitis says, is Maurice coming back full time? She is not. There is no intention for Maurice to come back full time, though she will, of course, accompany The Miz as and when they decide. Spider-Boss says, could we see more women's tag teams after the draft? There is a reason that we saw a whole fatal four-way. In many ways, it's not just to protect Ronda and establish Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez further. It's establishing multiple tag teams. Pardon me. There are a number of different tag teams that are being put together and will now have the time to grow. For example, you saw Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green get a little bit of credibility on their name, which I think was a good thing. It also says, kind of annoying WWE never wanted to do Sasha Banks versus Trish, but WWE gave us Trish versus Becky. We cannot sit here and guarantee that they never wanted to give us Sasha Banks versus Trish. For example, they've wanted for a long time to give Alexa Bliss versus Trish Stratus, but after the match against Charlotte, Trish Stratus wasn't quite feeling up to it until around now. Hogan says, in regards to Bate, is that just not liking him as a wrestler, or is there something more you prefer not to get into? I am not planning to discuss Tyler Bate at any point for any reason. Callie says, evening Tom and chat. Evening Callie, how you doing? I thought so, Danielle, I thought so. Callie says, Tom, I showed my brother the spoiler warning video about Bray Wyatt. He's happy Bray is coming back, and he said thank you for the news. Appreciate that, mate. Thanks for spreading the word. It's interesting because you'll go to a lot of YouTube channels that'll say to you, like, share and subscribe and, you know, get the word out there and tell everyone, tell all your friends. Leaving a like is actually better than going to one individual if you want the channel to grow out to more people. That said, if, for example, you said your brother there is someone who dip into the show, that's more beneficial. So what we're looking for is regular viewers who come back week in, week out. They're like the gold standard, as it were. But every view has so much value. So there's no downside to the occasional view as well. YouTube is a multi-story animal. Jermaine, how you doing, mate? Says, hey, Tom, did Mercedes Money sign a new contract with New Japan? I only asked because technically April 23rd is supposed to be her last match, according to Dave Meltzer. Now, I have previously reported that there is interest from AEW, and she's looking to wrap up her time with New Japan and with essentially Japan itself. That said, she disputes that, and she is a first-hand source. What I will also say about Dave Meltzer in particular, what I have to say, is that he has also previously reported that she's not working under contract. So how can she extend a contract that she doesn't have? Mustafa says here for the chat rate, thank you very kindly for that. Even if you lurk, I appreciate that quite a lot of people lurk and then will say hi. They'll just say hi and they'll leave it at that. But I appreciate so many of you. If you're lurking, even if you're here and you never hit like or anything, even if you've just been here for 2 or 3 seconds, you are helping the channel grow. This is a real collaborative effort. Alice says, what's the news topic tonight? I just got here. Alice, slightly different today, but appreciate checking in. Slightly different in that, to be honest, I don't have much in the way of news today. Every now and then there will be a show where this does happen, where I just don't have much to particularly talk about. Thank you very much, Daniel Berry, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Welcome to the show, and thank you very much for joining us. Every now and then a show does happen where we don't have much news, so I will be talking about the budget cuts. I'll be talking a little bit about the contracts and the situation going forwards, how that affects and how that is affected by potential budget cuts, but I'll largely be leaving it there. This is a show particularly that you guys are going to be running, so by all means, you guys dive in, ask your questions, and by all means chat amongst yourselves at times as well and see just how much conversation there is to be had in it. Because to be honest, this is more of I'm going to call it a community stream, I feel, which in many ways is what Spoiler Warning has always been because of the amount of questions that we do answer here. Stuart says, evening Tom, welcome Stuart. Justin says, hey Tom, happy Friday. I've seen WWE released Uncle Howdy music. Is this a sign they are not getting rid of the Howdy character, and where does Bray stand? Welcome, Justin. Thank you very much. I believe that's your first actual question, but I know you're already a channel member, so thank you for that. As regards the Uncle Howdy music, they've already licensed it. They've already spent money on it. So releasing it, in many ways, uploading it to YouTube and the like, guarantees them further income from it, as long as they have the license to spend it. With this in mind, there is a plan for Uncle Howdy being put together by Bray Wyatt and Rob Fee as we speak. Bray Wyatt essentially pitches the script initially. It goes to Rob Fee for a bit of moulding and then goes back to Bray Wyatt to approve the moulding. Then it goes to Triple H to approve it. Then it goes to Vince McMahon to approve the entire script. So it's not as easy when it comes to Bray Wyatt, and that element of creative control is not something a lot of people are too happy about. Uncle Howdy is still going. There are still plans for Uncle Howdy going forwards. Sean says, Indy defending a triple threat against Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez. Do you see Indy retaining? Yes, I do. Tiffany, I suspect, will be taking the pin, and Roxanne will be moving up in the draft. Spider-Bell says, I wonder how Cody could beat Brock clean. Brock doesn't lose clean often, and when he does, that makes it even more impactful. Hector says, WWE announced that Solo will take on Matt Riddle in a no DQ match tonight on SmackDown. No DQ pretty much always guarantees outside interference. The Usos are right there waiting for it. Thanks, Carl, for joining us. Hope you enjoy your drive, and thanks very much. Carlos says, what matches will headline Night of Champions? Logically, it has to be Roman. If it's Night of Champions, you can't be without your champion, so logically, it has to be Roman versus Cody. Dad says, I'm liking the quizzes, Tom, and the news shorts. Thank you very much. I've not been able to do as regular as I would like with the quizzes. I wanted to do them every day, but I do the news shorts during my first break at work. because I do have a full-time day job, so I've just not been able to, and I don't have anyone who's regularly able to provide that sort of trivia, especially people who would then be joining in with it. So I've not been able to do as much as I would like, but I'm enjoying seeing the amount of guesses going up and up and up each individual one, so it's definitely working. We get about 200 per, which for a community page shows that it's absolutely thriving, and it is driving traffic to these shows as well. Zane says, will Nick Aldis be the next Impact Wrestling World Champion? If he's booked that way, yes. Connor says that any current WWE names that for some reason are not on the internal list for the draft that we would assume would be there. Not at this point in time that I'm aware of, though there are people who already have the answer lined up. I believe, for example, Bray Wyatt and Vince McMahon have already made the decision as to where his future lies. Noob says, hello Tom, how are you doing? Seems like we're going to have some more office cuts in the WWE instead of talent cuts. Not instead of, don't know where you got that news from, Noob. Tell me more about your source. Eric says, are you going to watch Spring Break? Probably not, unfortunately. I just don't have the time for it. Richard says, Naomi just posted a photo of her training. Again, Naomi is getting back into wrestling shape, getting back into position to dive in, and honestly, quite excited about it. I think she'll be back in action before we know it. Rizal says, what is up with the women getting cut so much lately? Wasn't happening before. I feel like it started at the beginning of the year. What happened? Well, essentially, this does come down to the Royal Rumble, the changes made there, and the fact that a lot of the booking for the women, at least on SmackDown, was all around Ronda Rousey. SmackDown in particular has suffered, but over the past few weeks, so has Raw. The intention was to build new tag teams, but they're not always guaranteed to be able to do that. 456 says, hello to all, and hello Tom. Hello 456, how you doing? Spider-Boss says, somehow I think the Usos win back the tag titles, then lose at SummerSlam 2023 against the Judgment Day. I wouldn't hate it. Jermaine says, Dave Meltzer is saying Mercedes is signing one more date in New Japan. He is saying that, yes. Daniela, I technically support two teams. I have a season ticket to a local team near me that I will go and watch games, usually on Saturdays, sometimes away games, but it's a very small team. So that's sort of the main passion. But when it comes to Premier League, when I want high-octane, thrilling football, I personally watch Liverpool. I just like Klopp. And before that, I liked Rodgers. I like the style. I think I just like Gerrard. Brad Becker is asking, do I ever watch wrestling news now just to laugh? No, because if I started, it'd start popping up. Although occasionally, it is clever every now and then as a wrestling content creator to reference wrestling news now in your tags. Yes, Jaden, there will be a SmackDown watch-along. We do them every week. There will be one this week as well. Although I will say, I've got the dates now. So I'm going on holiday for a week next month. It starts on a Friday, so I will essentially miss 5 shows. Friday, spoiler warning, Friday SmackDown watch party, Monday, spoiler warning, Friday, spoiler warning, Friday, SmackDown watch party. I am heading out on the 12th of May, and I'm returning on the 19th of May. So once again, I will not be doing any shows in that time. Those are dates for my holiday, and I just wanted to make everyone clear, there will not be any shows at that time. I may be able to make some recordings, and I will make them premieres at those times, but I will not be uploading anything or creating or hosting anything live at that point, just so everyone is aware, and I'll post that in the Discord as well. Venom says, do you think Raw is going to be moved on Mondays? This is part of the discussion and the opinion and the speculation swirling around the idea that Warner Brothers are going to be picking it up. I don't personally think it's moving. Hi Vegeta, how you doing? Alyssa says, do you see Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam? Yes, I do personally. I think that's the biggest main event that they can do at this point in time and just keep that particular feud going. 23 Fresh says, has anyone in the WWE or AEW requested a release? Yes. Both sides have had people request releases. It just doesn't always get made public knowledge. Typically, if a release is reported, what it means is that they've got frustrated with a refusal and they've decided to intentionally release it. Bruce, I'm not sure on Sami Zayn. Personally, I think he will lose the titles, but I don't think they need to be defended at Clash of Night of Champions, I should say. I don't know about Carmella Spider-Boss. I don't know, but I can confirm I reached out for this. She's not being punished in any way. Spider-Boss says, do you think that the hype for Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens is gone? Nope, not at all. This will get huge receptions from the audience. It's just that they've realised that Sami Zayn's not exactly winning the top championship. Thank you, Zayn, encouraging people to leave a like on the stream. We do have 38 likes and 68 viewers, so if you're able to, please remember to hit like. Venom says, I don't know why they're mentioning the draft on NXT. They're just going to disappoint everyone with hardly any call-ups, and that is your opinion, and you're entitled to it. Eric says, I know you said your AEW sources aren't as good at AEW. Any news on the Jamie Hayter interview? Unfortunately, no, and you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, when it comes to AEW, I don't have the level of interaction that I have with WWE. I'm still trying and I'm still growing, but unfortunately, I just don't have that access at this point in time. Jaden says, I don't think it's because Mercedes money. She's leaving Japan anytime soon. She's taking Japanese language lessons. I don't think she's leaving Japan. I think she'll be wrestling in America again. That's what I was discussing. Razar says, couldn't WWE just take away Bray Wyatt's creative control if it's an issue? Nope, it's in his contract. It is literally a contractual requirement. Kelly says, thank you, Tom, for the quiz. I always get my answers right. Good to know. Good to know. Adam says, why did Stephanie McMahon resign? We only know what she has said herself on that one. I did upload it. Well, I went live as soon as the news broke. As soon as the news broke about that one, and I filled in as much detail as I had at that time. But honestly, it was a while ago. I don't have all the information to hand right now, so I can't jump in on it. Peter says, leave a like or we have one word for you, and it's just a picture of a table. That table emote gets a lot of use out of you, Peter, and I'm really glad that Sai put it together for me. Juana Roscoe says, hey, Tom, do you think Goldberg will draw anything for AEW? No. JJ says, hey, Tom, do you see Becky moving to SmackDown, or do they want her to stay on Raw? Hard to say. Really hard to say on this one. Logically, you'd want a lot of movement, and it depends what Fox are looking for, but also, it's difficult in this particular draft because it's going to be difficult to satisfy both sides of the TV stations when you're about to go into negotiations. This is how I knew the draft was happening and how I was able to continue asking questions, knowing full well that I wasn't getting the right answer until I did get the right answer and the absolutely correct answer that it is happening. And that's, of course, why I put my prediction video up when I did. Khalid hopes Bo Dallas fights as Uncle Howdy. Bruce says, why would they want Sammy and KO to win then lose the belts? That quick just seems messed up. I agree with that, but it is a thing that if you're a face, you should be on the chase. A face should chase. It's a good way to basically guarantee more heat behind them. Spider-Boss says, it's funny seeing other wrestling media outlets coming up with exclusive news that we already saw on Spoiler Warning. It's funny for you guys. It's very frustrating for me because I got to be honest, I'd be doing this full time. I'd be making enough money to do this full time if I was credited for the work that I do. Instead, what we have instead is a very strong community of people who at least know what I'm doing and what I'm saying and how accurate I am. No, Ken, unfortunately, I can't cheer you up because the Man United loss, I mean, someone picked Maguire and that's on you. Kelly says, Tom, are you ready for the draft next Friday? I will be doing a bit of a draft special on Monday for our local establishment right after Spoiler Warning. So by all means, check that out. Ed may have more details for you and it'll go live if it's gone live already. Peter, I'm not going to say where I'm going because I don't really want to say I'll be here on this date out on the internet because, you know, it's not just me. And as you guys know, I'm a bit private, particularly with my relationships and my family. So I'm going to keep it to myself. Not because of you guys in general, but because you know there's bad faith actors out in the world. So I'm going to keep it to myself, but I'm going somewhere nice and I'm very excited about it. Spider-Boss wants Roman to face Sheamus at Night of Champions. I wouldn't hate that. Wouldn't hate it. Sai says, hope you've got someone to feed the Connor while you're away. Absolutely. I'll make sure someone comes over and fills his bowl up for him. We're going weird now. I feel I've gone too far. Sorry, Connor. Alyssa says, do you see Roman Reigns keeping the belts till WrestleMania 40? No. Mark says, feeling a bit better. Going to ask my weekly Gunter question of how long until he gets a WWE or Universal title match. Not long, I don't feel. I think he'll have an opportunity before the year is out. Sean says, John Morrison was asked in an interview if he would go back to WWE. He responded by saying if WWE calls him, he will go back. A lot of people who were released by the WWE do not consider that bridge burned. They do not consider that bridge burned, neither do the WWE. I mean, a lot of people, with at least Vince McMahon, they get over it. They really do. Spider-Boss says, I always wonder what fans on social media see on Dominic Mysterio. I don't. I see it. It's great. Zane says, I hope Impact Wrestling signs WWE wrestlers, if any, get released. If talent is released, usually they will get picked up by somewhere. AEW has done a lot of wonderful things when it comes to that as well. Hogan says, RE, the draft and NXT feel like it's important to remember how different this version of NXT is after the 2.0 reboot. Not nearly as many main roster ready guys as there once was. And I think that's fair. When it comes to NXT in general, there's a bit of a log jam at the top because of the amount of cancelled call-ups. Thank you, by the way, Dave Meltzer, for confirming that Bron Breakker's call-up has been cancelled multiple times. I'm really tempted to start doing that on Twitter and just be like, thank you, at Dave Meltzer, for confirming my report. Now, he'll either ignore it or he'll quote tweet it and attack me. But ultimately, I don't know if I'm against that. If I tag a video in, why not? But you're absolutely right. There aren't too many people right now in NXT who are ready for that call-up. And I do think the lack of Triple H is starting to hurt that development. Bruce, happy advanced birthday for Saturday, which I believe is tomorrow. If I know my dates. Adam, I'm not going to answer that question, and you know it. I've already had that conversation with you. I will start to talk in more detail about it as soon as I've caught up with questions, because there is some detail and it may partially answer your question, but I'm not going to name any names. Zane says, will Shane McMahon return to WWE anytime in 2023? He did, and it's scary. Bruce says, will Sting win the AEW title? Nope. John says, word is, as per Inside the Ropes, thank you for sourcing, cuts will be mostly inside the office and not so much TV. Not so much is not the same as not at all. Juan Orozco says, Mercedes money at Forbidden Door or All In? Personally, I think Forbidden Door is something that's going to happen because it's definitely something that she wants. Now, I've already seen more than I would like from this guy. So, Mojo Rising, you're in timeout. Immediately, pretty much immediately. You've made a great start, I tell you that. Bruce says, Tom, you're a good guy and love the channel and community. Thank you, Bruce, and I hope everyone is able to share that sentiment and say thank you, Bruce, as well. I really do feel that, I really do feel proud and reassured, just reassured by the level of community that we have here. It's been such high spirits here recently, and I'm really happy to be a part of this community. Spider-Boss says, I'd love to see more of Rhea Ripley on SmackDown. She hasn't done much after WrestleMania. They're trying not to oversaturate with her. She's making appearances, but the actual in-ring wrestling, they'll be taking their time with. Hector says, Tom, do you think Tony Khan is essentially making a separate show centered around Punk? Do you think that has any effect on talent morale? Yes, I think it does, and it absolutely is doing so. So the report is now out there about when CM Punk will be returning, and to my knowledge it is accurate. The debut Saturday show next month for AEW will be the CM Punk show, and the AEW have been promised a lot of money for this new show. It will almost justify CM Punk. However, a firm split is now necessary, and Tony Khan once again will be the sole booker for all AEW programming, including Dark Elevation. He'll be booking it all, which is scary. Connor says, I do need feeding, so it makes sense as long as you have it sorted. I got you, mate. Venom says, do you think the US title and the IC titles switch in the draft? Yes, I do. Bruce is saying, what pay-per-view will Roman lose the belts? Whichever one it's booked for. I don't have an answer for you on that one, unfortunately. Whichever one is booked for. 23 Fresh says, is Vince Russo the best creative mind in the wrestling business? No. If you're going ever, it's Vince McMahon. It absolutely is. Eric says, Sammy wins Money in the Bank along with, let's say, Raquel. Sammy wins the Universal and the Raquel wins Raw. I don't see it, unfortunately. I just don't see it. Vijay says, Braun is going this time, though. Hopefully. Sean says, do you think Ronda moves in the draft? I do kind of, yeah. I do kind of. I'm getting the feeling now that when you look at, for example, the Raquel Rodriguez, the Shotzi, Aaliyah in many ways, Natalya, Liv Morgan, in fact, Ronda's worked with a lot of people on SmackDown, and it probably is time to move over. unless the plan is to immediately throw her against Rhea Ripley. But Ronda Rousey will be on both shows anyway. That's one of the reasons they're going to be giving her the tag team championships, so that she can appear on both shows, and that will make USA and Fox very happy. Moises wants John Morrison back as well. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that, but I'm not really one for getting into a Twitter war. I'm not there for the beef. I'm just there to advertise the show, to be honest. 23 Fresh says, what are your goals for the channel? Which is a great question. My goals for this channel have always been the same. I want to inform. That's pretty much it. I want to inform and I want to entertain. Let's say inform and entertain. Now, if I can make a living doing this, then I'm going to be a very, very happy boy. A very happy boy. And once I am in a position where I can start making a living doing this, I can then dedicate more time to, for example, the gaming side of things, where I'm working on things, even though it won't necessarily align with what we do here. So those are my goals. And the growth of the channel is just allowing me that little bit more pleasanter life at the moment. A little bit more pleasanter life. So I'm a happy boy. And this channel is a huge part of that. Even if it was making no money, which for a long time it was, as you guys know, I'm very fulfilled by it. John says, I've heard before Mercedes is hesitant to go to WWE with a... Okay. What's your source, mate? What's your source? Peach says, Tom, did you see my picture of Bray Wyatt on the chase? Yes, I did, mate. Not quite what I was expecting. Not quite as advertised. I don't see what you see, but I get it. Michael says there's still a need for dark or dark elevation with free TV shows. AEW are still hiring talent, so unfortunately I would say so, yes. Spider-Boss says I'd love to see Cody versus Lashley after Backlash. Me too, I'd enjoy that. Khaled says, Tom, I'm glad to be here every Monday and Friday and listen to your daily wrestling rumours and WWE news. Thank you, mate, and thank you too. Mr. Stumble says, does his budget cut mean no more pyro for Cody Rhodes? Not no more, but less. So let's jump into it at this point. We're half an hour in, and there is quite a bit to cover. So when it comes to budget cuts, what I've been told so far is that there are millions of dollars of budget cuts coming, and the back office will not be able to account for that. Now, a large part of this will come in changes to, basically a lot of stuff that you'll never see. Some of the storage facilities will be changing. So they're paying less rent for the buildings. They've been using the same buildings for a very long time, so a small change for that could be very beneficial. They move into a smaller office. They're looking to share some office space with Endeavour, and they're cutting down the overall admin side. A lot of this will be moving to Endeavour payroll, for example, and they're cutting down a lot on that, plus centralising some IT. They will also be changing some equipment setups as regards the moving of the rings and so on and so forth. And they're looking at maybe cutting some live events in areas that aren't making so much money. There's also, as part of this budget cut, a plan to increase revenue. And a large part of this is what Triple H is already putting out there. They are essentially saying that when they do live shows, as an example, when they do live shows, they're not necessarily getting the guaranteed amount of people that they're looking for, which creates a certain amount of difficulty when it comes to their understanding of how can we get more people through the doors. If they're going to the same people, the same areas 2 or 3 times a year, they believe that they are less likely to sell out those areas. And there is a modicum of respect for AEW in that they have essentially cut a little bit into their bottom line for the ticket sales. Their response to this is to go more global. And this is also increasing their income because, for example, when they go to the UK gives them money. When they go to Puerto Rico gives them money. And this globalization is based on that. I've spoken for a while about the idea of a show in China, a show in Australia. The WWE is saying, pay up. And the countries in question are doing so. Not only that, but it means they can book big arenas and sell them out. And then when they come back to the US on home soil, they're more likely to sell out because of a level of scarcity. So things like that are part of the overall plan. That said, there is definitely a risk to wrestlers, particularly people who are currently in the developmental line. And they're also looking at people like, for example, Gable Steveson, who they've had no real return from. They might just be looking at cutting ties there. Now, obviously, Logan Paul just signed a new deal, but there's also a number of people whose contracts are coming up relatively soon. I've been reaching out for more information as regards the contracts in question, and what I've been told basically is that it's normal to have wrestlers entering their last year of contract before they start negotiating, but it's not normal to have so many. Negotiations have not gone ahead anywhere as often and as powerfully as they normally would. And the main reason for that is that they are locked into the Endeavour deal and they do not know what finances they will be working with. Under Triple H, wrestlers have been signing on to contracts for less money, with one notable exception of Roman Reigns. So that was, of course, signed under Vince McMahon. Going forwards, a lot of wrestlers have seen the Roman Reigns deal and they are glancing over his way with covetous and envious eyes. Triple H cannot guarantee them what they're looking for. Endeavour is unlikely to give them what they're looking for. So wrestlers are going to have to start accepting a level of pay cut. This is another reason why limited date contracts are going to become all the more popular. From what I can tell, celebrities and celebrity endorsements, KSI, Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, they're going to be protected, but wrestlers such as Drew McIntyre, Alexa Bliss, and the like may have to take pay cuts. There is a huge dip in morale since the return of Vince McMahon, and a lot of people who returned under Triple H are feeling at risk and feeling anxiety over it. There are people who returned who aren't being used as much right now as they were used when they first returned. Meanwhile, you're seeing people get more involved in side storylines, such as, for example, Emma, Madcap Moss, Hit Row, who are popping up every now and then, but aren't necessarily being used all that much. There is a fight on at the moment, backstage in the WWE, to fill slots, because people are worried that those slots won't be there for much longer. So I think as regards budget cuts, that's the most detail I can possibly give, because I also took their overall strategy to increase income to reduce what they need as well. So I think that's about as much as I can cover. Tommy B, welcome, says AEW is catering to Punk, it seems like. You're absolutely right on that one. Absolutely right. Mr. Stumble says, why do you think Tony Khan's booking is scary? I don't think Tony Khan's booking is scary. I think he's like butter scraped over too much bread. Steve England says, maybe Tony Khan should focus on his football teams, can hire a booker and just be the Vince figure to his hired Triple H. I'm wondering who he would hire at this point in time. There are some very talented people, but ultimately, the impression I get from Tony Khan is he doesn't really trust too many people. Hogan says, once Collision is introduced, both AEW and WWE will be putting out 9 hours of weekly wrestling content. I already think that's too much for WWE, let alone a 4-year company. Bruce says, will Sammy ever win the champion's title? If they book him to do so, yes. Dad says, Tom, I'll send you a picture of the poster I got at the wrestling last weekend. Please do, mate. Please do. 23 Fresh says, is Tony Khan a good booker? He's had good moments and he's had bad moments. There's a lot of throw stuff at the wall and see what happens. Spider-Boss says, since Triple H is in charge of creative, why do fans blame Vince when a show is bad like Raw After Mania? Vince McMahon was directly involved in changing the script for the Raw After Mania. I believe personally that they are both to blame. Both to blame. Danielle is intrigued for next Friday. Absolutely. The draft shows are going to be a lot of fun. They really are. I'm definitely tempted by the concept of a Raw watch-along for that point. Venom says, when you're full-time, would we get Raw watch-alongs every week? Yes, Venom. 100%. We would have a Raw watch-along every single week if I was full-time. Bruce says, Tom, hope you can just do this to make a living. Me too, and I appreciate that, Bruce. Hector says, any update on your merch, or is everything still on the table, if you will? I am currently discussing merch with Sai, who is, as you know, a great designer and someone who has been hugely beneficial to me and a great friend in the time that I've come to know him as well. I am talking merch at the moment. I want to finalise designs and get them out there because I do have a merch store and I've had it for about a year now and I've just never used it. I've never used it. So even if nobody ever buys a t-shirt, why not have the option? Why not have the option? Make a couple of fun designs, and if we are doing a meetup, I'll buy a few t-shirts myself to give out and give away. Drew says, hey Tom, PWInsider reported Ilya Dragunov is being pitched to get called up to SmackDown. Have you heard anything on this? I have not, no. Sean says, I believe tomorrow will make 2 weeks until Bianca becomes longest reigning Raw Women's Champion. It looks like she will break the record. It does indeed. Venom says, talking about pyro, cut Roman's pyro, he gets a ton of it. Roman is a law unto himself. A law unto himself. Mark says, have to say, since WrestleMania, they've done a good job with Bronson Reed and hope they continue with it. Me too. I'm really happy with what they're doing with him as well. And in many ways, I think Bobby Lashley can be pretty happy with it too. Lucha Libre meme says, Tom, just wanted to say I appreciate your channel. A lot of other channels post clickbait news or misinformation just for daily traffic. You don't do that. and I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Lucha Libre memes. That's very kind of you to say, and as the first message, that's a great thing to read. Thank you kindly. Joey says if they're going to cut over $100 million, they're not going to cut over $100 million. I said it's $1 million cuts, not $100 million cuts. Okay? They're not going to cut over $100 million. That's not what I'm reporting. Khalid says, Tom, I think when Bray Wyatt had the mask at the Royal Rumble, I think it was a different Fiend Bray Wyatt. It was. James Jones says, sup, Tom, how you doing? What have you got cooking today? We're just really talking about the budget cuts. Today is just one of those days where, unfortunately, I don't have that much news. So it's kind of a community show, and naturally, when I come in and say, I don't have that much news, you can see that the viewers is slightly lower than what I would normally get. But that's okay. I know that a lot of people come into this show, get the news, and then head out, and that's absolutely fine. Spider-Boss says, give me WWE shows in South America, please. There is talk of that. Hector says, if WWE continues to make record money year after year, could that convince Endeavour to let WWE essentially write a blank check to any free agent, or no? No. Billy says, not sure if this was discussed already, but per cage side seats, there was a rumour about Warner Brothers interested in being involved with WWE. I've heard that rumour myself, but at the moment I would still refer to it as a rumour, but I appreciate you sourcing there, Billy. Venom says, when will we see Johnny again? When he's fit and there's a storyline for him. 23 Fresh says, does Vince McMahon know that he is unpopular backstage these days? Yes, he does, and that's why after Raw After Mania, he stayed away. Joey says, is Tony Khan creating a show for CM Punk because the rest of the roster don't want to work with him? Pretty much, yeah. Though it's not just for CM Punk, it's also for FTR. JJ says, has there been any updates about Becky's contract since your video, or is it still the same? It is still the same, yes. Nelson says, do you think Jay White was WWE bound and changes forced him to sign with AEW? I know the negotiations happened, things were going positively, but from what I can tell, he just wasn't happy with the reception that was on offer. I don't think he was happy with the push per se, even though he was offered some big names. I think he wanted championships. Adam, I think I've been about as clear as I can possibly be. Okay? Brad says, don't forget Tony's in charge of Ring of Honor. Thank you, Brad, for reminding me there. James says, Raw After Mania with Vince all day. Past couple of weeks looks more Triple H lately, but Vince with changes. There are definitely some tweaks being made. I know, Venom, I know. Hogan said, has there been anything on the WrestleMania 41 and 42 bidding process, particularly in regards to who's involved, who's a favourite, etc. Only thing I've heard about is Nashville's bid for 43. Not that I've heard. Ultimately, I'm going to be blunt, that's not information that I usually get. I don't have those contacts. But if I do get anything, I will let you know. Venom says, how far off are you from being full-time? I'm about a tenth of the way. About a tenth of the way. YouTube channels, they grow in momentum. They grow at pace. So my hope is, I'm 34 now, I'll turn 35 in a couple of months. 3 months I'll turn 35. My hope is that I'll be able to go full-time by 40. At which point I'll be able to, start cutting down hours at work and become self-employed full-time and live a really nice life. I essentially have Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday off as well as the weekends. Be a good life. Spider-Boss says Bianca Belair is 15 days away. Venom says, do you think Bayley will then face Bayley? No, but I'd watch that. Spider-Boss, I don't know. I don't know what she does. It's up to her. 23 Fresh says, how could the WWE improve the draft? We haven't had the draft yet, mate. So we'll see how that goes. I think they could certainly add a bit more joy and levity to it, but I don't know how they would do that. Joey said, worked reported Tyler Bate has been discussed as a... I don't want to discuss Tyler Bate. Vegeta's talking about Tyler Bate. I don't want to discuss Tyler Bate. He probably will be very popular on the main roster. Shame. Juana Roscoe says, do you think AEW Collision can get higher ratings than Rampage? Dave Meltzer doesn't think, though, there's a lot of sports on Saturday. It depends on their competition. Yes, there's a lot of sports on Saturday, and if you're going directly head-to-head with WWE pay-per-views, you're screwed. James says, thank you, Tom. Like to stay for the full show, see what you're cooking on the whole wrestling world. I do think a lot of information comes out in this Q&A stuff. While I'll speculate and I'll share my opinion, a lot of it's informed opinion. I just only have one source on it. So I'm not reporting it. You know? You know what I mean? Adam says, what does this mean for Bray Wyatt? What does what mean for Bray Wyatt? I've given as much detail as I possibly can already on Bray Wyatt. Sean says, do you think we'll get the breakup of Damage Control after the Io Bianca match? I do think that's still to come, but I think at this point it's Vince McMahon stalling it. Daniel Welcome says, will AEW Collision be a live weekly show? It sounds like it, yes, though that may get in the way of their actual pay-per-view schedule. Noob says it seems like the Bloodline's going to start a war with not only the rest of the WWE roster, but with the Judgment Day and with the LWO. Bloodline versus the world? Bloodline versus the universe, I can get behind. Eric says, do you think Liv and Raquel lose their titles tonight? No. Venom says, I meant, will Bayley turn Bayley face? If she wants to turn face, she's booked to turn face, yes. Hogan says, I still can't believe Sasha Banks is 3 years younger than Bianca Belair, threw my whole morning for a loop. I did not know that. Spider-Boss says, I want to see NXT women on the draft. Main roster needs a new talent, which absolutely I agree. And Barry, welcome, says, there's a lot of sport on Saturday because a lot of people watch sport on a Saturday. Joey says, are you expecting a lot of call-ups in the draft or just 4 or 5? I don't know. I don't know what to expect at this point. As soon as I have more information, I'll be sharing it. But right now, unfortunately, I don't have any further information than what I've already reported. Mark says, how would you rate Trish's promo on Monday? Push put a lot of men and women to the sword of how good she was. It was an extremely good promo. Really put a lot of energy into the feud, and I'm excited to see more of it. Tommy says, when college football is in season, is on Saturdays, that'll really hurt AEW. College football is huge here in the States. Steve says, funny how the draft starts the day after the NFL draft. Coincidence? I think not. WWE's been trying to measure up to the NFL for years, poaching their talent after they hang up their cleats for good. Oh, so this is SEO, Steve. So essentially, the word draft will become a keyword during the NFL draft, and traffic will be driven to anything revolving a draft. So the WWE are jumping on that to ensure more people are aware of what they're doing, and thus by extension what they're creating as regards draft. They will get more views, which is why over the course of the next week Tom Colohue is going to be posting the phrase WWE Draft 2023 in a lot of videos. That's how it's going to be, because that's going to be a huge keyword, and I absolutely want to get in on that. Nelson says, any possibilities Endeavour removes Vince? Sai says, it's a nice chill stream. Thanks, Tom, and all. It really is, isn't it? It really is. I've gotten used to speaking at a real high pace when we have 140, 160 people in here. But you don't have to. You know? So it's nice every now and then to have a nice, relaxed stream. And to be fair, we've still got plenty of people in here. So a huge thanks to all of you for joining us, for chatting, for hitting like. We have 45 likes, which is a very nice number as well. It's a sign. We need a better source on that. Venom says, Zoe Stark could be an amazing talent to have on the main roster, and Zoe doesn't need the NXT title. There's really no point in her staying in NXT. Hogan says, the Banks factor only came up when some folks are saying she's running low on time, forgetting she's only 31. And 23 Fresh says, why didn't Val Venus become WWE champion? Because in his feud with Mankind, in his feud with The Rock, and in his feud with Rikishi, people really didn't care. And Connor says, talking of tables and everything being on them, can I get one in my cupboard so I can put stuff on the table? You have a shelf. You have a shelf. We've been going for 50 minutes with only the one piece of news. That's an amazing show of how far we've come from the days where I'd be live for 10, maybe 15 minutes at most, just doing what I could. Nowadays, you guys run this show, and I could not be happier for it. We will be live for SmackDown later on tonight. Until then, I'm going to wrap up and say that I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.